high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Morrow, and with me today, as always, is Mike Walsh. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm enjoying myself right now.
Do you know that every time I introduce the podcast, I want to say, and now is another issue of Talking Catholic because of the newspaper. And I'm always writing that down, too. It's like almost 2 years. You'd think I'd stop writing notes about the intro to this podcast.
No, I wouldn't. I've been around you now 2 years. I like that there's a consistency to the way your brain works.
Oh, that's true.
It makes life very predictable for someone who has to work with you on such a
Are you calling me predictable?
No, there's a comfort level in knowing that what's going to happen is going to happen, and I appreciate that.
Wait, that's what the definition of predictable.
I know. I decided to take it in and run around it. I'm in PR. We use words for fun.
Fair enough.
That's okay. So we are podcasting from a very special location. Do you know how special this location is?
Well, I know it's Baltimore.
We are in Baltimore, which is, I guarantee you, we've never podcasted here before.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I podcasted in Green Bay once, and the time I podcasted in Green Bay, it was for the exact same reason. Well, because we are currently at the Catholic Media Conference of the Catholic Media Association.
Now, what number is this for you?
This is my third.
Okay, and this is my first, so I'm very excited.
I can tell. You've been gleeful for the last several days.
After 7 years in Catholic media, I finally get to go to the Catholic Media Conference.
Well, it's nice to work for a diocese that supports these things. So I'm very happy to do that.
You always are giving me so many opportunities, Mike.
I'm all about giving people opportunities. You know that. and actually, we're in good company this week, as we're actually with two of our fellow members of the Catholic Star Herald. Tom O'Shea, our graphic designer, is here, and Pete Sanchez, our staff writer, is here, and our social media manager for the paper. So it's been real nice. And
they are not on the podcast today because they are attending other sessions to learn more about Catholic journalism and where we can grow and meeting new people.
I don't want them to waste their time on a podcast. I want the listeners to waste their time on a podcast. So this is nice. But
exactly.
But anyway, no, it's great, and I'm very excited about it. And because we're here, we decided to bring on two good friends and one new friend to actually, believe it or not, I think there's a guy who's going to get his 5-timers jacket today, as a matter of fact. I could be wrong, but I think one of our...
What?
Yeah, one of our guests this is his 5th time, if I'm not mistaken.
We need to get him a smoking jacket.
Okay.
Like a swanky smoking jacket?
Yeah, absolutely. Go full Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
That's exactly
I was going to give him a Diocese of Camden pin, but I think I may have already given him one of those.
I think I will get him a navy blue smoking jacket. He wears a lot of blue. It'll
he does.
Look good.
That's a good one. That's good. And I also enjoy the fact that we can talk about this like him because we're doing the banter, even though he's sitting right there and unable to say a word.
Well, I mean, I will say that I've known him as well for 7 years, and even though I do believe that he would look good in a blue smoking jacket, I only now have just learned how to pronounce his last name correctly. I just want everybody to know it's never too late to learn something new.
That is the best Jen Morrow thing about the podcast is the fact that you just can't handle last names.
I can't.
That's okay.
That's all right. I have to know my weaknesses. I know my weaknesses. That's why I'm a writer.
So long as you can spell his name, you're fine.
Exactly.
There you go.
I'm very good at that.
So I don't want to be bantering too much because we have such great guests, and I do want to dive into what their reactions to having been to the Catholic Media Conference, both this one and ones in years past, have been like. So, Jen, would you like to go around the table and introduce our friends?
I sure would.
Maybe starting with the most northernmost. Oh no! Okay,
that
so I can't
was so unfair. Do you know that? Like, I know my face is turning red because first off, I had to immediately picture a map, and second off, I don't know where one of the people at this table is from. So, except actually, you did say it, didn't you?
She did.
So, you know what? I have to talk it out, Mike. You know me. I got to talk these things out.
This podcast is 54 and a half minutes long. We got to fill it with something.
All right, here we go. Are you ready? Who we have on the podcast today is Mary Kate Polanin. She is the digital content editor of Busted Halo, and I believe you're from Rochester, New York?
Hoboken, New Jersey. You are so close, Jen. You were so close.
I'm so happy right now.
You started with the correct most northern. Actually, no. I think someone else lives a little further north than I do. Actually, that's also true.
I could have sworn you said Rochester, New York.
I thought, when she started, I thought she was going to go with Rahway. And I was like, okay, she's in the ballpark at least. Nope.
You know what? I love this podcast already.
Okay. So while Jen fans herself off. But before we move on to the next person, for our listeners who may not know, Mary Kate, what is Busted Halo?
So Busted Halo is a media ministry founded by the Paulist Fathers. So their charism is all about communication. So you think Paulist, letters from St. Paul. They really believe in spreading the gospel through the most modern means necessary. So we have a Sirius XM radio show. We have a website. We have a really robust social media presence. We're always experimenting with new ways to reach non-traditional audiences, as one of the topics from today's sessions was.
Love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've had some good sessions about that, reaching all audiences. Mm-hmm. Okay, also we have, not from Rochester, New York, with Maria Margiotta. She is the communications director from the Archdiocese of Newark, New Jersey. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm so excited we get to be on 2 podcasts together pretty much, in the last 6 weeks or so.
I'm glad to return. Thanks for having me again.
Yes.
And she's this is her first Catholic Media Conference, right?
It is. So as a newbie at the conference, I got this special blue ribbon that says first time attendee on my conference badge, so everyone could identify me as a newbie.
Yep.
But that's because we're extra nice to all the newbies. So as opposed to the people who have been here a while, like our last guest we're going to introduce, I've pretty much just been abusing him for the last 3 days, which has been nice for me, but he's not a newbie anymore, so I don't have to be nice to him. So who is the last person?
Oh, well, we have, you mean the smoking jacket?
Who's smoking jacket guy?
Okay. We have Gerry Wutkowski. Nope. Wutkowski?
Yep.
Yes. Assistant Director of Communications for the Diocese of Metuchen.
Oh my gosh, thank God. That was like the hardest, 7 minutes to keep my mouth shut.
That's a new record right there. By the way,
it got to a point where it was painful and I almost couldn't breathe.
I don't mind being the comic relief and the butt of all jokes.
So Gerry, how many Catholic Media Conferences have you been to?
This is just 2.
This is just 2. Yeah. Okay, so I'm the most seasoned person at 3.
You're the senior.
Thank you very much. Let's make sure we all remember that. So I'm curious to our newbies first, Jen and Maria. You know, you guys have both been in Catholic media for a long time now. Maria, before you had this job, you were working for Catholic cemeteries, doing their public relations and communications. But this was your first opportunity to come. Mm-hmm. Has it been all you've imagined?
And more.
Oh, good. That's what we like to hear.
No, it's been terrific because it's given me the opportunity to meet the people that I've either Zoomed with or spoken with on the phone or follow on social media. So it's really terrific to put faces to names and to interact with people. And it's just been really a terrific learning environment. The workshops have been really insightful, and I'm enjoying it. It's been good.
What about you, Jen?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely advantageous to put faces to the names, like you were saying, Maria, like between Catholic News Service and OSV News and the different podcasts and radio out there. We see these names like every day. So it's like, oh, wow, that's who you are. And, so good to, see the face of the articles that I read and really enjoy. So that's probably one of my favorite parts so far.
And, I have to say the conference brings in some pretty good talent as far as the plenary sessions that all attendees can attend, and then all the different breakout sessions, seminars that you're able to attend on a host of different topics. So, there are multiple tracks, none of which I'll remember at the moment, but there's a communications track, there's a digital track, there's a education track, there's, I'm not... You could say it out loud, right?
There's a magazine track.
Business editorial.
Thank you very much. You guys don't have to give me hand signals. You have your microphones in front of you.
Everybody's been introduced. You can talk whenever you want now.
And breathe.
You can even repeat your name correctly if you'd like.
I should also, while we're in the midst of recording this opening, comment if anyone notices it's a little noisy in here, it's because God love them. I asked for some space at the conference, and they gave us shockingly, the Camden Room, which was hysterical because we're in Baltimore, so it's another one of Lord Camden's many places that have places named after him, including Camden Yards, where the Orioles play. But here we are in the Camden Room of the hotel, which unfortunately is not furnished. It's hardwood floors and a table that is just a lot of tables put together. So it's actually quite noisy in here, and the air conditioning's on. So it's not our best audio, but we hope you'll enjoy it anyway with all the laughter. And
we'll cover it up with the laughter.
Exactly.
Before we get really into the meat, I think we do need to point out one extra thing, though. This is your third conference, you said?
This is my third conference.
This is your first conference as an official board member.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Thank you. Today specifically is the day that I start. As a matter of fact, I was elected a few months ago. And for anyone wondering how I did it, it was easy. I just had to run unopposed, so it wasn't a problem.
You still got my vote.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Me too.
Oh, you guys are the best. It's great. So I'm on the board representing newspaper publishers, specifically. There's like one or two at-large people, and then everybody sort of represents either a section of the country or a certain section of the membership, and I happen to be the newspaper publisher membership. But we talk about all sorts of different things. Like I was in a meeting yesterday and started pontificating from a PR perspective and not a publisher perspective. But no, it's been great, and I tell you, the board members here are really dedicated to the association, but even more importantly to the membership. They're constantly trying to figure out what's related to the conference specifically, what's the best content to make to bring here so that people can really get something from it. The last thing they want to do is make it feel repetitive. So every year they try to make it new, but at the same time there are some sessions that for newbies like yourselves would be good for people to attend. So some of them are not repetitive, but they do every couple of years. We'll bring back another favorite topic so people can be a part of it.
I was even speaking with somebody today who said she had been last year, and so one of the conferences that happened today was based on, I'm sure not just her recommendation, but they had mentioned to the board, this is what we'd like to see next year, and here it is. So that's it's good to know that the board members are attentive to what the members are looking for.
Yeah. So Mary Kate, you are a 2-time veteran.
That's right.
What is it about the conference that brings you back?
Well, I should clarify that my first time attending the conference, I was also asked to present. So that was a lot like being shot out of a cannon.
Wow, congratulations. That's really great, though.
Thank you very much. And it was great. Gerry was there, so that was very comforting for my first conference. And
we should probably point out, by the way, that Gerry and Mary Kate are cousins.
She's the more popular cousin.
She really is.
True.
This is very true. Let me tell you the side story. Last year, when I introduced Mary Kate to everybody that I knew in the Catholic media world, I go, oh, this is my cousin Mary Kate. She works for Busted Halo. It was like, goodbye, Gerry. And all they wanted to do was talk to Mary Kate. And I was I'm just here to make the connection and disappear.
I would like to counter that with, you are so much more active on Twitter, which among Catholic journalism is a really good way to be known and recognized. And you do interact with a lot of the more heavy hitters of the Catholic media world on Twitter. I see it.
Yes.
I don't post as much on Twitter as you do. So I feel like you have a way of getting yourself out there and people know who you are.
You're also on the CMA's communication committee too.
Yes, I am.
So he's known.
Yeah.
I mean, people like Mary Kate better, but still, he's known.
That's why I said she's the more popular one. She's the popular cousin.
By the end of the week last year, we were saying we're the Catholic communications cousins. That was like our new branding. But yes, it is a joy to have a fellow Catholic communicator in the family and have you here. But yes, so I came back this year and I was talking to another presenter from last year, Father Patrick Mary Briscoe, OSV. And I said to him, isn't it kind of like you went to a wedding last year and you had to give a toast and you're kind of like nerve-wracked the whole time and you're trying to like keep it cool, and then the next wedding you go to, you're like, oh great, I am just a guest, I get to enjoy this and not have to worry about giving a toast or a presentation. So that is part of the reason that I came back. Not only that, but to see some of my Catholic media colleagues and people that I know and get to see once a year. It's just a nice little shot in the arm.
Although the Paulists did have one session last night, right? You guys did a radio recording?
We did. So Father Dave recorded he usually answers questions of faith, whether that's via Facebook Live or on his radio show.
Did we say who Father Dave is?
No. Father Dave Dwyer. Thank you.
No problem.
Give the plug.
This is my first podcast. Father Dave Dwyer is the executive director of Busted Halo. He's been with the company for over, I'm going to get this wrong, like 17 plus years. I think he's been doing the show for about 13. And he, like I said, hosts a SiriusXM radio show Monday through Friday. And a lot of the time people call in with their questions of faith. Father Dave is of the Paulist Fathers, I should mention. That was the spiel I gave earlier. So last night he did a live to record version of what he does on the radio show, answering people's questions of faith. Some people in this room were kind enough to write in questions for Father Dave to answer. I think actually, Mike, Father Dave really enjoyed answering your question.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I am a professional. I set him up with a softball because he co-hosts his shows with Cardinal Dolan, the Archbishop of New York City. And, Cardinal Dolan is a known character. And I figure I'd give him a nice, easy one. So I just wrote, so what is Cardinal Dolan really like?
Oh, that's great.
And he hit it out of the park like I knew he would, which is you get what you see, you get what you see what you get, whatever it is. And he had an absolute blast. So I saw it as he was reading through the cards. He goes, "Oh yeah, we're starting with that one." I knew it was mine. But there were a lot of great questions. There was one weirdo question that some weirdo that I have no idea who that guy was asking about. Can you baptize aliens or something like that, or what the deal with aliens is? But aside from that, they were all really substantive, good questions. So it was fascinating. Although I will say I did like the alien question. I was a little regretful that I didn't come up with it.
God is the God of the universe. Remember that.
That is right.
That's my favorite part about the whole questions of faith thing, is that no matter how out there the question is, or there are no stupid questions, but I feel like I always learn something new from participating in events like that, or whether we're doing that or Facebook Live.
That was a really fun one, and Father Dave is quite a character himself, so he made it very enjoyable. Matter of fact, it flew by. I didn't realize an hour had gone by. We were there. He made it so enjoyable. So he's a good one. If you don't listen, I'm getting tired of promoting other podcasts and Catholic entities on this podcast. However, if you're going to listen to SiriusXM's Catholic channel and listen to any of the Catholic stuff up there's a lot of good stuff up there. So,
Are you saying it's channel 129 on SiriusXM, the Catholic channel?
I'm saying that there's a possibility of that. It is. Who's his co-host, by the way, other than Cardinal Dolan? He has a comedian co-host
Brett
too,
Siddell.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's pretty funny too.
He is fantastic.
He is. You know what? We should probably have all of those people on the podcast someday.
I almost asked Father today if he wanted to be on the podcast after the first session. And I was like, I better not do that.
Nah, it's okay. We got to expand. I got to start liking our competitors. That's fine. So you've come back and you've enjoyed yourself, and now you get to sort of do it in a more relaxed way, aside from having to work a little bit last night. Mm-hmm. What about you, Gerry? What keeps you coming back? Other than wanting to get out of the office.
Well, family, of course.
Naturally. You knew Mary Kate was going to be here.
Grandmother's going to be so happy to hear that.
But no, I did get a text message from Mary Kate a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, "You are going to this, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I am going to this." But I think the best part of it is that it is an opportunity to get together with fellow Catholic communicators who kind of dive deep into the work that we all know here around the table, but sometimes it feels like you're on an island, and it's just great to meet people and get a little bit of like a boost, but a lot of support as well, and to learn from experts like Mike Walsh.
That's true. Although I don't teach here, but I hear that.
I can't wait for the Mike Walsh presentation.
Oh, listen.
Oh, me too, actually.
I have wanted to jump on some mics earlier today, but they weren't to be helpful. They were mostly to be insulting. But I disagree, by the way, with what Mary Kate said earlier. There are no dumb questions. I have been in the presence of a ton of dumb questions at every conference I've ever been at. But what are you going to do? I am curious. So the four of you now. So we're halfway through the session, the conference right now, roughly. I guess we have one day left. what has been everybody's favorite session so far? And you can include actually, I'm going to break this up into two different things. What has been your favorite breakout session so far? Not your plenary. What's been your favorite breakout session so far? What have you learned something?
Well, I actually attended one today that was so relevant because we recently encountered a firestorm on social media in recent days. So Cardinal Joseph Tobin, the Archbishop of Newark, had a reflection in his biweekly newsletter, which is called Rejoice in the Lord, published on our website. And it reflected on gun violence. And there was a very powerful statement regarding the Second Amendment rights and voluntarily putting that aside for the sake of humanity. And the message really was about the sanctity of life with regards to gun violence. And so initially, so we put that out on social media as well as posting it on our website and sharing it, of course, internally with staff and priests and religious and etc. And so initially there was an overwhelmingly positive response on his Twitter account. A lot of people supporting it, echoing the message, sharing that they too would pass on the message. And then in following days, a few secular outlets picked up on it, and then suddenly we were faced with a firestorm of negative reaction and response, and a lot of, unfortunately, vulgar and hateful language. And, you know, on our social media, we allow disagreement as long as it's respectful, but once it starts to cross that border of, you know, vulgarity, just inappropriate comments, you know, we have to monitor, and there's no room for that. We can't. So we were faced with it was quite an interesting situation. So today I attended a session which was called "Don't Pour Gas on the Social Media Fire." So it was relevant, and actually I participated in the discussion because I was able to bring that up as an example of something that, you know, many of us can face with social media. And so it was really interesting. But for me, it was a real life situation that we could, you know, to learn from, to share. I shared my experience, our experience from the Archdiocese, and there was some really great, positive, and insightful conversation on the topic.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the people who are here. They will definitely react to what you're going through, you know, professionally in your job, and give you great tidbits. Like that actually happened to you, as a matter of fact. We were in one of the video sessions, and you had brought up a question, and this year's Cardinal Foley winner decided to turn around and instead of just having the moderator respond to your question, Mary Kate, the Foley winner decided to chime in and give her perspective on what you could do.
I know. I mentioned that to my editor-in-chief after. I just have found that the audiences and the attendees here are among the most generous.
They are.
And I know, you know, Mike, you made that quip about competitors, and I remember on my first day at the job, I asked my boss, you know, who is Busted Halo's #1 competitor? And she said, well, we all have the same goal of, you know, bringing souls to Christ, so no one's really a competitor. And I feel like, you know, egos aside, that is for the most part true. People are really generous in their knowledge and in their experience, and they also offer it with such empathy because they've definitely been in your shoes before. Yeah. So that's really, you know, I went to the session that Maria mentioned, but the session that I was in that you mentioned, Mike, my question was very simple. I was asking about how to get a release for people to, you know, a release for their image, for their likeness, if you take a video or a photo of them, like, what's the best practice? And she just grabbed the microphone. And I will say, selfishly, I was asking for a friend who does social media for my parish. Yeah. And I was able to text her, and I said, okay, so this is advice from an award-winning journalist in Catholic media, and this is what she said. Take a screenshot of this and show it to Father. And she was like, thank you so much.
But That is a fine example. Like, okay, so I am hyper competitive and I consider all these people my enemies. However, every single person that's ever come up and asked me a question, I will do whatever I can to make their lives better, because at the end of the day, we actually are all professionals and I want everybody to do great. Actually, I get irritated when I see amateur work out there. I want everyone to be, I want what we produce to be the bottom level, because everyone else has gotten so much better, and then I want to leapfrog them later on. Mm-hmm. What about you, Gerry? What was your favorite session?
I think the first day when we did the master camps.
Oh, yeah.
I have I brought out the book because I couldn't remember the name for my life, but it was called Catholic Journalism in a Polarized World. And so it was like a really big deep dive into the current reality of what we're facing in just general communications and general journalism, but also from a Catholic perspective as well. And it really highlighted a little bit of like the sad division that's within not just the world, but within the church as well. And they gave one question, and I think I'm still like digesting it, but it's going to, I think, bear fruit in the work that we do moving forward, is if the Eucharist cannot unify us, what can? Mm-hmm. And I said, and it's back to the competition, we're all here because we're all baptized Catholics. We're all here for the same mission. We're all here for the same message. We're here for the same truth. We're not competing with each other, and we shouldn't be working to divide ourselves. We should be working to unify ourselves. And if we can't even unify around the Eucharist, it gives a big question, like, what else is there and what is the point? And then the other question that they've thrown out is, what is then Catholic media for? Yeah. And I think that is something, you could do several podcasts just on that question alone, but I think the big thing there is going home with a new appreciation for the Eucharist and our communion with one another. Yeah.
What about you, Jen?
I just want to add
Don't
to Gerry.
say the same one.
No. Okay. But I do want to add something to Gerry's, because it's interesting timing, because I know Bishop Barron has just, I think, written a little book, but he also did a recent video about the polarization, and he, the term that he uses is the culture of contempt. And that was mentioned in the, just that word, the contempt word was mentioned in that polarization session, and about how society today seems to feed off of contempt. Mm-hmm. And so I did enjoy the polarization conversation, just to get that out there. It's something to think about. I think we should do a future podcast on that, Mike.
On polarization?
Culture of contempt.
I support that completely.
I know.
Wait, are we pro or con?
Oh boy. I'm con.
Oh, yeah, we can do that one too.
But I really like the ones that I attended today, so it's kind of hard to choose, but I guess I'm going to have to narrow it down to ethical storytelling. And it was just talking about how the words that we use already have negative connotations, like even a lead that you might write that has something like, in our neediest neighborhoods. All right, well, now you've already labeled somebody, economically in our neediest. Do we need to put that in there? And if we do need to do it, why don't we show, not tell? Right? Like, why don't we use a real example if that's what we're going to be doing? And it just kind of brought up, I had written a story recently on one of our Catholic charities, staffers who went to the UN to talk about being an Iraq refugee. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was writing the story, we've told his story multiple times in the Catholic Star Herald and in the diocese about how he came from Iraq because of the circumstances. So the article I was writing was not about his circumstances, because we've done that already. It was the fact that he went to the UN to present. And I was very torn on how to write that article, because I did not want to exploit him just for the article. Right? So I wanted to make sure that the wording I used when I was writing got to the point, but didn't sensationalize his story. I mean, his story is already amazing, but I don't want to, cash in on it. So afterward, I actually asked the leaders of this ethical storytelling facilitators if I could send them the link to my story and if they would critique it, to see if there are any words that I used that I can avoid in the future. So I think that's the one I've gotten the most out of so far.
You gave the presenter homework?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to love you the most.
Yeah, they didn't seem too amused, but it's all right. They said, well, maybe we'll show you what was good about it, too. And I said, well, that's fine, too, but you can definitely just critique it if you want. Which, Mike, is pretty big for me because I do not like negative
No, you do
feedback.
not. You do not. That is
take
very true.
criticism well.
That is
I
a
know.
bold sign of leadership, like proactively asking for feedback. Like, that's incredible.
No, but that's also a highlight of this conference is that people are willing to go the extra mile in support of other professionals. It's like you're not just here getting a presentation, like going home. You're making a solid connection, and these people are actually going to work with you in the future.
Well, that's the key to conferences like this, because I think a lot of people come to conferences and just sit there passively and sort of let the words wash over them, and they take away whatever they take away. But the truth of the matter is, and some of you here who know me know that I am an introvert, even though it doesn't come across that way, and I don't want to interact with people, which that does come across. But
I have to, as an aside, I went to the same session as Mike, and I saw him, and I was like, oh, let me go sit near Mike. And I said, oh, is this seat taken? He's like, ugh, all right.
That's about right.
in my defense, that was an attempt at being funny, but it occurred to me later, it may not have come off that way. Well, no one ever wants to sit next to me, so it was very weird. I actually had the thought in my head, why is this person sitting? The place was empty and they're sitting next to me. I'm like, who is crowding me right now?
I'm all about conference buddies. Once you know someone, like, I'm your buddy.
Well, okay, so that was what my point was, is that if you are unfortunately being like me too much and not making conference buddies, you're actually losing out. Because yes, you are going to get great content, but the personal relationships you'll make here is really amazing. I mean, and they carry forth. Like, I don't know what I'm doing on the board of directors, to tell you the truth, but I ended up meeting a couple of other board members who, for some reason, took a liking to me and put my name in nomination, and here I am. But it's things like that. It's those personal connections which make opportunities like this so great. Mm-hmm. And the annoying part is, one of the many annoying things is these people are so freaking nice. Like, they're actually difficult to unload. Like, you're like, okay, as an introvert, I've reached the end of my energy level now, and you're gonna have to go away. But they're just so sweet. I don't want to be like dismissive of them or anything like that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nah, you know when to make an exit.
I have to say though, because as the New Jersey contingency, I feel that we've bonded as conference buddies here.
We have actually.
So it's been really nice to sit, and the downtime that we've had for meals or whatnot, it's been really nice. So it's good.
Well, that's because you and I have talked about this for years now, that we want to get together with our New Jersey counterparts more often, but because we're so busy, we just can't do it. But here we're literally jailed in a hotel for 4 days, and we have the opportunity to be together. Well, sometimes it is. However, before I go too far along, Mary Kate, did we hear what your best session was? Favorite session was?
Well, actually, my favorite session was the one that Maria went to on social media management. I just found his presentation to be equal parts, informative, but also vulnerable and authentic, and just being very raw, but not in an uncomfortable way, almost in like a affirming way of it is hard to be a social media manager in the Catholic media space. And, this is what he learned from it. And he included best practices about how to respond or not respond, but also how to take care of yourself. He gave a little PSA to therapy in the end, which I found to be so like authentic and real. So shout out to him.
Right.
So, Mary... Oh, wait. No. I'm gonna bust in on this one. I'm gonna tell you why I'm gonna bust in.
Right.
I'm gonna connect something to what she said.
I want to too.
The unfortunate part is we're actually recording this a day too soon, because tomorrow is the sectional meetings where you'll be able to either be with people who are your industrial area, who are in the areas of industry, Catholic industry that you are in. You meet with all of them, or in your regional area. Well, the first conference I went to was in Green Bay several years ago, and it was the communications directors one, and it was the most cathartic meeting I'd ever been a part of, because all we did was unload and vent, because we have very difficult jobs. They're much different than journalist jobs. Not that journalist jobs aren't difficult, but there's a layer to ours that can be difficult for your soul. And the fact that there were all of us together, must have been 30 of us in the room, just sort of talking about the troubles and tribulations we've been through. And one of the things that came up was that sort of self-care thing. It's like, don't be afraid to go to therapy. Don't be afraid to talk about the difficulties you're having, because just because you're working for the Catholic Church, it's not all peaches and cream. There are some really difficult things we have to deal with. And it's good for people like myself and Maria to be amongst our group and be able to unload. Maria and I have had a lot of private conversations over the last couple of days about stuff that we've had to deal with in our jobs, and it's wonderful that we have that opportunity. So that was what I wanted to tie into Mary Kate.
Well,
So,
I was
Jen.
just tying in similar to what Mary Kate said. One of the sessions I was in said that you should let everybody on your staff have 1 hour a week with the Eucharist. And they were like, whether that's in your chancery or if you have a church or cathedral next door. And they were like, well, I know that might sound difficult to do if you're the manager and you're like, well, I don't have time to give everybody an hour or something. But they were like, it'll make them, first off, it'll help them mentally, spiritually, and make them harder workers.
Are you trying to say you went an hour with the Eucharist every week?
I lost my train of thought because Mike squished his eyes at me and gave me an evil look.
Well, I was just thinking to myself, I feel like if a manager said I don't have an hour to give to my employees for a holy hour, Mother Teresa would say, then give them 2.
That was good.
It's like you just signed up for 2 hours.
Hey, listen up. We literally have the cathedral next door to us, and 12:35 Mass every single day. I don't want to hear about that. Our folks don't have enough time to get to Mass.
Isn't it 12:05 Mass?
Is it 12:05? Oh, it ends at 12:35. I'm always waiting till the end. That's what it is. Yes, it's at 12:05.
So, Mike,
Have I been to it? Occasionally.
Oh my.
what was one of your favorite sessions so far?
I don't know, actually. Give me the book. I can't remember what I've seen. I've taken a ton of notes on a piece of paper, which I think is throwing off all the millennials. But because I hear them clacking away behind me.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Mike's hearkening back to when I sat next to him during that session.
Oh.
My laptop.
Oh.
That's what's happening.
that table was moving along. Actually, I felt bad because I thought I was ruining your thing because I was typing so much, but I was not typing for notes. I don't know what actually my favorite one. To tell you the truth, when I come to this, as much as I appreciate the camaraderie, I actually try to go to as many of the nuts and bolts places. Like I try to steer away from all the ethereal sessions, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I want to know, like, okay, so the one Mary Kate and I were in later was Reels 101, how to make short videos, right?
Right.
Now, I've made short videos before for the diocese, but I've never really been happy with them. So I wanted to go and see if there were a couple tips that I could pick up. And I only recently started using this app called Canva, and I started using it after I went to the Holy Land and I was doing all those video reports.
Right.
And I wish I had used it then because it would have made my life so much easier. Just the way you can edit things together and how the output works. And so that was a little technical thing that I probably could have learned on my own if I tried a little harder, but I was really happy that I was able to pick up on it here. Mm-hmm. But then the other thing you get out of that is, so I picked up one thing out of an hour-long session, hour and 15-minute session. However, everything else was brought up, confirmed all the stuff that we have been doing, which also feels good too. So, and it was done by a millennial who I could probably be her father. And I was like, all right, I'm going to listen to this very smart young woman. There you go. Thank you. Very smart young woman. Her name was Mitzi.
Yes,
That's
I
right.
listened to a person named Mitzi.
I'm so proud of you.
I've never done that before.
I'm proud of you.
You just touched on something else, which I found that I'm finding refreshing also, which is the affirmation of, you're hearing from peers. And I mean, you're either picking up some good tips or you're hearing affirmations of our work that, we are on track, or yes, we are doing the right thing, or, we are approaching it in similar ways. So that's really, I think, an important part of this conference too.
Yeah.
I have a question. Did anybody find it difficult to pick which ones to go to in the fact that, one session might reach you more on your professional level, whereas another one might reach you on a personal / professional level?
Absolutely.
Mary Kate?
I actually had this conversation with Mike on day one, because there was the master camps. One was on more of the business and digital side, and then the other was on polarization. And I specifically wanted to go to hear Gloria Purvis speak. I'm a huge fan of her work, and I was looking forward to hearing her. But I knew...
And who is she?
She is, she's with America Media. She has a podcast, and she is a very, what's the word? She's very passionate pro-life advocate, but also an advocate of racial equality in the United States. And she just speaks so passionately about both and finds a way to bring the two together, and really holds the line on her own. So I find her a wonderful speaker. But the way that you put it was that, you have to decide what is going to make you better at your job.
Right.
And what's really, like you said, going to be one of the more like ethereal, lift you up things. And you have to weigh that. But sometimes you have to think, when am I going to have this opportunity again? So it's hard.
So which did you choose?
So I chose the polarization master camp. However, I wish I had known because Gloria spoke in the afternoon only, and the business one was a repeat morning and afternoon. So live feedback. I know you're on the board.
That's okay. I have a whole bunch of notes already for next
if I
year's
had a
conference.
time machine, I would go to the business track in the morning and then Gloria in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to say the lift up material is invaluable. Like, I sat down at lunch with Chris Baum from the Diocese of Saginaw, and he just asked me a question, and he said, "So, what good stories have you got put out this year?"
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, my brain just like went like, but it made me reflect, like, what have we actually accomplished? What have we actually done in the last year since we saw each other face to face? And it gives, like, those opportunities I don't think come too often when we are in the day-to-day moving so fast that we forget the different stories that we actually have accomplished.
Yeah. I was shocked. Somebody asked me the question during lunch, like, what are you working on right now that's meaningful? Right? Like, they doubled down on the question. It wasn't just like, what are you working on?
It's not just, what do you do?
And I was just like, graduations, I was like, but we're all doing that. But then I had to like actually think, and it was like, well, actually we do have this coming up in the summer. And then I like dived in to tell her what we were doing. But yeah, I mean, it's really good to actually be held accountable.
Yeah. So no, I'm not against the nuts and bolts. Like, I come here and I learn a lot of nuts and bolts, but I also think it's an opportunity also to get some of that positive feedback. So you go back and you go, okay, this work is actually worth doing in the world.
Yeah. You also get good ideas. I mean, people will talk about the stuff they've been working on, and you're like, oh, we could do that. Yep. We should definitely be focused on something like that in our diocese.
That's where the sharing comes in.
That is where the sharing comes in.
I think Mike likes to call it stealing. Gerry. Thank you.
I steal.
Borrowing.
This is my
borrowing.
This is my fifth time on the podcast, so I
He's
know
learned.
this. I know Mike likes to steal, and I tell him we like to share.
There's a difference. One is intentional and one is less intentional.
They're all intentional. I intentionally share with you, Mike.
What was the conversation we had earlier this week where you were trying to explain to me how we should be more demonic in what we're doing as opposed to...
Oh, what was that?
No. I think you were the one that was saying that.
That's right. I was explaining to Gerry, and I were having a debate on the role of the professional Catholic, and I was saying how there's often this, we get this feedback, and I think we mentioned on the podcast before, that the whether or not communications professionals are evangelizers, and my feelings have always been that we are the people that lift up the evangelizers. That's not to say that a communications person can't be an evangelizer, but I know who I am, and I've accepted who I am, Gerry. And who I am
is an evangelizer.
Is a cog in the machine of Catholicism, making sure that we are saving souls and putting butts in seats. That is what my job is.
That sounds like an evangelizer to me.
That's a different kind of
Maria,
evangelizer.
what do you think? Another director of communications.
I was part of that conversation, actually. I was an innocent bystander. I got sucked into it. I agree with both sides.
Nice.
A lot of what we put out is evangelization, but at the same time, as a communications professional and as a long-time PR person, most of my career has been to put the leadership out front, to help them with, shaping of messages and what to convey and how to convey, and to media train them to present information in a certain way. So I think both sides, we're pushing out the evangelizers, but at the same time, I've learned in my short time in the Catholic, communications environment that we do become evangelizers in what we do, using our social media tools, our website, written word, all the tools that we use. It's for the purposes of evangelizing.
Amen. I think Maria said it, shaping the message.
We do shape
and
the
I
message.
I think that's key to the other term that's used out when people say spinning. And I said, when I went to the Baltimore Basilica last night for a tour, I was there alone with this poor woman giving a tour, and she asked me, like, what do I do? And she goes, oh, you spin messages. And I go, no, I shape the message for the church to evangelize and do its mission. And she goes, and she like took a step back, and she was like, yeah, maybe, yeah, okay. So but I like moving forward with the word shape, because we're not here to lead people in the wrong direction.
Right.
We're not here to just like to spin a man. We're here to give you the truth of the message, and our message is the truth. So it is going in a positive direction always, not going towards I'm not leading you down this like crazy road.
Just so you know, I like the title Spin Doctor, so I'm not switching it to Shape Doctor. I'm just warning you that right now.
Shape Doctor sounds like a weight loss product.
You could be onto something.
I will say, though, the word spin almost has a derogatory feel to it, because I think that there's a misperception out there, and unfortunately, I recently received some really negative feedback based on the backlash that I was referring to earlier on social media, where someone said, you're the PR person, so you're spinning this in a certain way, and it has such a negative aspect to it. But I agree with you, Gerry, that shaping because it's all for the good of saving souls.
Right. Amen.
Yeah, I agree with that. Except that I'm sticking with spin. So we have about 10 minutes left, and so there's another part of the conference. Well, there's actually two parts of the conference we haven't quite brought up yet. But one of the parts of the conference that's the other major sort of educational piece are the plenary sessions. Typically, these can be done anytime, but here it's done during lunch. So they oftentimes will bring in a guest speaker or a panel or something like that. And I'm not going to limit it because there's less plenary sessions in a conference like this. But have you attended plenary sessions, Gerry and Mary Kate, in your prior one, or this one, or for the two of you, or for Maria and Jen, for this one that would like kind of spoke to you? Anything you heard that you really liked while you were eating your, chicken?
I was flipping through my notebook thinking I had heard it during one of those sessions, but it turned out to be in one of the breakout sessions. So does it still count?
Well, it's hard to take notes during the plenaries while you're having breakfast or lunch. Okay, there you go.
No, I think the plenary gives you like the overall like picture or challenge as a Catholic communicator. I think when we had Dr. Ruffini, the prefect of the dicastery for communication.
Wow, you memorized that so nicely.
I have the book right in front of me.
I know.
This isn't a video, Gerry. You didn't have to call yourself out.
And I think Mary Kate tweeted it because I read her quote, and it was about, they were talking about the recent document that the dicastery put out on the church and social media. And the comment was that it was intentionally written in English, and that's not by chance.
Yeah.
And I think that's been like a call out to like, especially the U.S. Catholic Church, and how we have maybe not been so authentic in our values and our mission, and utilizing social media for the good. We've sort of had been using maybe social media just to make noise.
Yeah. What?
So.
I don't think.
So I think being called on in such a public way is so moving.
Yes.
And you can't really rebuttal at that moment because you have like chicken in your mouth. So.
They got you right where they want you.
Yeah. Of course, those sessions are also notorious for having mics in the air in amongst the people, so you can get up and ask questions, and that's when some of the stranger questions happen. I'm not going to say they were bad
like
questions.
aliens.
I'm just saying they were peculiar. Hey, that. Oh, I almost said something. Okay, Maria, anything you got out of the plenaries?
I don't know if it was part of the plenary, but Sister Rose Bacchetti
Yes, that was-
what, Sister Rose Movies on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those.
Her
Yeah.
presentation I thought was powerful because she talked about multimedia ministries and in the metaverse, but the importance of new technologies and being aware of potential risks and challenges that they bring. And I thought it was phenomenal, and she just brought some really interesting aspects.
She really did.
Yeah.
She also brought up AI and ChatGPT,
Yes.
and she handled it the way I would hope most Catholic professionals would handle it, as opposed to the people who groaned in the room when she brought it up. I'm a proponent of the usage of technology, and I think that there is a place for AI and ChatGPT, even amongst us Catholic professionals. But she pointed out that, and she made fun of it a little bit, and that's, you should do that. But that we have to think about these things critically. We can't just use it for the sake of using it. We have to use it with intentionally and some thought behind it. Like, I've used ChatGPT, nothing related to the stuff I do for the Catholic Church, but there's been some other projects I've worked on where I've used it as a foundation, as a starter, as a draft, and then I can build stuff off of it. And I think it's a useful tool, but it's one that has to be monitored and you have to think about. Right, Mary Kate?
Yeah, I mean, when I realized the presentation had gone into a nun talking about her using ChatGPT, I was like, this is why I'm here. This is fantastic. And I love that she really held everyone's hand through the process of what it looks like to use ChatGPT and speak really honestly about the pluses and minuses of it, and talking about the idea of like hallucinations that AI can have and how it can be inaccurate. I thought it was just a really great, honest take, and the AI jokes, I did groan at them.
But you know what? Here's the thing. While she was telling these, they were these terrible dad jokes, right? Yeah. But the thing was, they were the base of an excellent joke. With a little bit of editing, that could have actually been turned into a really good joke, but that's what you need the human to do. But the ChatGPT just spitting out like the base level was useful. So it's there. So
what about you, Mike?
What about me?
Anything in the session or the plenaries that you...
Well, to be truthful with you, I usually get angry in the plenaries because I'll see stuff that up there, like someone will, like particularly on a panel, they're not usually the singles are good. The people who do singles are like really prepared, but occasionally you get a panel, and every now and again someone will get up there and just wing it, and I just want to turn off their mic and then wrap the mic cord around their neck, because it's like, no,
This
you
is why
haven't.
you eat chicken.
Exactly. It's like you have this great opportunity here with a captive audience. Don't phone it in. Like, really think about it. Like I heard one where they were giving out 10-year-old information, and I'm like, we've been doing this for 10 years. Can you bring something new? Don't regurgitate stuff we've been doing since 1913. Yeah, from 1913. But 2013. So the other thing I did want to bring up was, one of my favorite parts is the conference does a great job of certainly bringing in some spirituality. There's always a prayer room. Occasionally, depending on where we are, there may be an adoration room. This year, we got to take a lovely walk amidst the smoke, but from Canada. But we took a lovely walk to the Cathedral Basilica in Baltimore, which is a very unique church. Like, from the outside, it looks like a typical Romanesque church, and you walk inside of it, and it has a sort of weird Protestant vibe to it, because it's all painted, and there's not like a ton of stained glass, or it's not Romanesque on the inside, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. But then we all get to pray together, and it's kind of, so here we are, hardened, jaded professionals, all, well, not you, Gerry, but me. and here we are praying together and singing together, and Bishop Adam Parker was the celebrant last night, and he gave a very nice homily, and it's just a great time to sort of be together and actually kind of focus on our spirituality while we're together, because sometimes we get lost in being the cog in the Catholic machine of Catholic journalism, but I like it. So anyway, do you guys appreciate the opportunities to pray together?
It was very nice. No, it was good.
Okay.
To come together, break, and to celebrate the Eucharist together. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What unifies us.
It does.
It's just a reminder of how unique it is what we do.
Yeah.
It's media, it's journalism, and it's united in Christ, which is just so
Amen.
beautiful and
Amen.
a gift, really.
Yeah. And I can't be jaded while I'm there. So it's a relief for me.
Take Mike to church, everybody.
That's right. Though I do sit by myself all the way on the right. It is weird. Well, thank you all for number one, for coming to the conference this year. As a board of director, let me thank you from that perspective. Thank you for being on the podcast as the guy who runs the podcast. And I really appreciate that, and taking some time out of your time here at the conference, and pulling yourselves away from the ice cream buffet that they had downstairs to feed us to get through to dinner time. And I hope you have a good rest of your time for your conference. And to all of our listeners, if you ever have an opportunity to avail yourself of something like this, by all means, take advantage of it, because I think you'll find it more rewarding than you realize. So thanks everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you again next week. See you, everybody.